We are finally at the end of the NBA season. The Golden State Warriors are the NBA champions, eclipsing the Boston Celtics 4 games to two. Uh, and to be honest, it was pretty predicted after game four. I thought no way that the Warriors were losing. I mean, they were too strong. The Celtics just seemed shocked after a point. Like they were trying hard, but then they just realized the Warriors were just too deep a unit, too good a unit, and no way they were beating this Warriors unit. All about the Warriors win and look back on the season on today's episode. All right. At the start of the season, you had your pick. You picked Milwaukee Bucks, if I remember correctly, and I picked
Yep.
maybe in the Milwaukee Bucks or probably the Brooklyn Nets. I don't remember, but definitely didn't pick the Warriors. Nor did I
Yep.
pick the Celtics. Uh, when was it? Do you think that this changed and the Warriors really became contenders? Because at the start of the season, this Warriors team was a unit that was coming off of a plain loss last season. Steph Curry was great, but Klay Thompson had not played in 2 years. Draymond Green, people were saying that he is past his prime and he was declining. There was a bunch of youngsters in this team, were unproven youngsters because it was Jordan Poole, and then you
Yeah.
got a bunch of minimum veterans like Beliza and Otto Porter Jr. You didn't know what you were going to get from them. They were unwanted by other teams. So, and then you had a bunch of young rookies that they drafted: Moses Moody, Jonathan Kuminga. So there are no real hopes on the Warriors.
G
When
League
did you
guys too.
G League guys? Yeah, exactly. Jordan Poole in the G League team of last
Yeah.
season.
Yeah.
Uh, when did you think that the Warriors really vaulted into contendership, or at least thought that they had a chance?
I think regular season. We spoke about this also after about halfway through the regular season because they were on fire offensively. Their
Yeah,
defense was just as good as it's ever been, and consistently number one, if not top three defense in the league. At every point in the season, they were somewhere in the top three, quite often at number one. And I thought, okay, this is they're back. Because
yeah,
in the playoffs, that's the one thing I was saying. I still didn't know if they'll win it all, but I said in the playoffs in the West, in a largely weakened Western Conference, by the way, it was nowhere as strong as it should have been this year. Like the Clippers just put themselves out of contention. Lakers, same thing with fitness issues. Um, uh, the Nuggets didn't have Jamal Murray back still. And so a bunch of teams just kind of eliminated themselves. Portland again with that injury to Lillard. Not that they would have been big contenders, but the West just shot itself in the foot. And I
yeah.
thought, who's taking down the Warriors? I don't see anyone that can beat them in the playoffs. Suns, no chance, and they're the best team in the West regular season wise. Nobody else would even come close. Grizzlies can finish wherever. There's no way they're beating the Warriors. So I think somewhere through the season, I thought the NBA Finals is extremely likely. Whether they'll win it all or not, I don't know. And for that reason, I still fancied the Bucks because Warriors or otherwise,
Yeah.
I didn't know who was stopping Giannis. Um, but hey, there you go. So maybe that I think somewhere in the regular season was when they really reminded us all that they're
I
back.
agree. I
That's
mean, I remember the first game of the season, it was against the Lakers, and the Warriors pulled off a very close victory. Game two, it was against the Clippers, and that was a close victory as well. Steph went off and got 45 something points in that game. And we're like, okay, two close games against two strong teams. Looks good. This team looks nice. And then before you knew it, they were 18 and 2 after 20 games. And
yeah,
that's when you think of it like, oh, wow, this is something. I mean, and this was a team with Klay Thompson yet to come back. Uh, if you got, like you were saying throughout the regular season, right? If you got 75% of Klay Thompson back, I think the Warriors are strong. And that's what he proved to be. He was definitely not 100%, and he was still efficient and not efficient, but he was pretty crucial in big games, I would say. Got those big 3 pointers, was great on defense when needed. In the
that was
end,
a
the
big one, right?
Warriors,
So I said
yeah,
if he's even partially the Clay that he was, especially on defense, if he can be the perimeter defense that he was, and in a lot of games, in clutch moments and in key like third quarters and stuff, he did come up big on defense. He's pretty effective,
yeah.
and that's exactly what they needed.
Yeah, he has an knack for hitting these big 3 pointers as well. I mean, he'll go missing whole game, and then suddenly, when you need it the most, he'll come out and he'll swish a 3 pointer. He won't even touch the rim. That's
Yeah,
how
yeah, yeah.
he's just proven himself in these big moments time and again. But I think the one thing out of syllabus, Steph Curry, we knew that he was going to be great whenever he played any playoff game. He's always performed.
By
He
the way,
had like
not
what
like
one,
this though. Not like this. This level of
yeah.
leadership and dominance in the postseason.
Yeah,
This is a
this was
first.
like with an intent that I am here
Yeah,
to prove to the world that I can do it.
yeah.
But we expected him to be great. He had like what 23 playoff games in that. I think he was great in 22 of them. Even that one game where he didn't get a 3 pointer, I think he was still good. Defensively, he was amazing. His defense has stepped up a level, I must say. But I think the key player for Warriors was Wiggins. That came out of nowhere. I mean,
Yeah,
all
absolutely.
through all through his contract, we've been talking about how big a contract it is. We made fun of his contract. Uh, the Warriors are just lifting that contract. It's a movable piece and all of that. And in the playoffs, he proved that over the 3 rounds, over the 4 rounds, he's proven that, well, the contract was worth it because he was guarding the best player in the opposing team most series, right? Ja Morant against the Memphis Grizzlies, Luka Doncic against the Dallas, and he did a great job on Luka and Tatum in the series. Tatum
Yeah.
was totally shut down in game six as well. And going on getting 15, 16, 17 points on the other end as well. Wiggins was like the player for me of the series. I mean, Steph, of course, was the best player, but that was expected. I think the unexpected best player was Andrew Wiggins for me. This Warriors team, though, 6 finals in 8 years, 4 titles now.
Yeah.
And there are talks of dynasty and whatnot. Of course, it's a dynasty that they
It is a
won.
dynasty. I don't know why they're
You've
even
maintained this
debating.
for this long, right?
Yeah, yeah.
What is the formula for success of this team? Because you've seen successful teams in the past, but those last like 3 years, 4 years, and how many dynasties have you had in the last 20 years? Maybe the Chicago Bulls dynasty, maybe this one. What else would you put in that? Maybe the Lakers in the 80s, because that went on for 8, 10 years. But that was a team that shifted, right? I know Magic Johnson was there for most of it, and Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was there, but the rest of the pieces kept
No,
rotating.
but that's fine. You should call it a dynasty because
Yeah,
that's,
it's
I
still
mean,
a
then the
dynasty. I would
Bulls
agree. I
also,
would agree.
without Jordan
Yeah,
Pippen, all of the other
true,
pieces moved around. Like Rodman
true,
wasn't there for the first three,
true, true.
etc.
So in
So,
like the last
yeah.
30 years, we probably had like 3 dynasties. I mean, Shaq and Kobe didn't last long enough to be called a dynasty, I would say. They won 3 titles, great. Fourth year they lost and then they broke them apart.
Yeah, but in that decade, though, in that 10-year
Yeah.
stretch,
Mm-hmm.
Lakers 5 rings,
Yeah.
to the finals 5 plus 2 7 times.
Well, that was
That's
just
pretty.
Kobe, right? I mean, there's no
Yeah.
second player also. Kobe was there first 3 years and then in the last 2 years.
Yeah, but that's
So
that's all of his teams. It's just Kobe. It doesn't matter. They're not getting the ball
Kobe is a
anyway.
dynasty.
Yeah, Kobe's a dynasty,
But it,
exactly.
it what I'm trying to say here is it requires some kind of
Yeah,
formula for this
yeah.
repeated continuous success, right? What is the formula for success for this Warriors team? That I know one factor, primary factor, is Steph Curry. He is one of a kind, never seen before. Don't know when we'll see some similar player again. Steph Curry, of course, is one big factor. But apart from that, the external off-court factors, what do you think is the reason for this
Yeah.
Warriors continuous success?
And that's the big one. So Bob Myers, and him along with a few other names, but Bob Myers, the GM, the all the other dynasties, like you look at the, I don't know if the Celtics can be called one, but let's say they are the 80s Celtics,
Mm-hmm.
with the big four, with Bird, etc., etc. So they had a certain core player group, and they built around that and they rebuilt around that and blah blah blah. Same with the Lakers. They had Magic, you generational talent, you get him and then you build around him. They acquired an old Kareem. They made James Worthy work, etc. That was always one team. And the Bulls, largely, it was their two big guys, which is Jordan and Pippen. And when you have talent like that, you build squads around them and you win. And this was pretty much the formula. Is two ace players, which is 40% of your starting lineup, and you build everything else around them, and they'll get you to the promised land. That was pretty much the formula. Same with the Lakers, Shaq, Kobe. Same with everything that came after them. I think it was really the Spurs who first
Mm-hmm.
introduced this sort of approach where you draft deep, but you draft well, you draft real value in the later rounds, and you invest extensive time, effort, and resources into developing those players into something. Be
Mm-hmm.
it Kawhi was still pretty high up the draft, but players like Kawhi, players like Manu, all these guys who they would pick up in the drafts, not everyone was a Tim Duncan for them that came in
Yeah.
number one and then became a superstar. They drafted exceptionally well, they scouted exceptionally well, and most importantly, they groomed that talent into capable players, but also players that were groomed with a specific role and an outcome in mind. Like there was always a plan. There was always a 3 4 year plan in which people would grow up into this role and they would do that, and eventually it would lead to chips, and it did. And they played team ball movement, off the ball movement,
Yeah.
team defense, team ball. That was the blueprint, really. And without that, the Warriors would have never happened. That was the first team to do it. Nobody else were still quite trying it. Pat Riley, there were shades of just beginnings of that in Miami with Spolstra and Riley. But then LeBron came and brought the whole circus to town, and they went to the finals a bunch of times. So it just became his thing. It still wasn't really
Mm-hmm.
a system. It was his thing.
Yeah.
Then came the Warriors, very similar to the Spurs in the sense that they drafted really well. They picked up Steph when a lot of people weren't taking a chance on him. They picked up Clay in the latter part of the draft. I mean, Clay, if you know what he can do, will be a lottery pick in the
Yeah.
draft, right? But he wasn't quite. Um, you have all of these players, and then you got Draymond, great value,
Yeah.
and then they groomed them, they built a unit, they built a team that plays like a team. Very few teams do that. Miami maybe, where individualistic talent is there, but it is really effective team ball, that one extra pass, everyone knows where the other guy is, who has the best high percentage shot, etc. They do that very well. Now in all this, it cannot be done without a good GM. Your coaches can do it, your assistant coaches can do it, but without Bob Myers making just genius move after genius move. Their draft picks were excellent. Their G League choices were outstanding.
Yeah.
Their Kevin Durant wants to walk out. What's your best case outcome there? Right? Not really nothing. Kevin Durant wants to leave your team. What is your best case outcome? He turned that into something. He moved him on. He let it go. He found a way to pick up D'Angelo Russell, then found a way to flip Russell into Wiggins. Forget that whole thing, right? How many players, how many GMs, sorry, in the league would have the balls to give away a talent like D'Angelo Russell and say, in return, I want Andrew Wiggins,
Yeah.
who
Yeah.
at that time was a laughable trade. But I mean, I liked it only because I didn't like D'Angelo Russell that much. So I thought they can get maybe Wiggins to do a little more than they can get D'Angelo to comply. Because if Clay comes back, there's no way D'Angelo. Because they have Jordan Poole also. So where
Yeah.
exactly is D'Angelo going to go? Now they have Jordan Poole. Back then they did. But he made that. They saw something in Wiggins. They made that move. They made it work. And look how they've turned Wiggins around.
Yeah.
Like that. Start of the year to end of the year. Look at that turnaround. Yeah, I thought he
Yep.
was the second best player in the finals. It
True.
wasn't
Absolutely.
not even Draymond. It was Wiggins. In the finals, it was
Absolutely.
Wiggins. So
Draymond was missing for like 2, 3 games,
he
so
got
no way.
benched, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so you have a GM like that, visionary, not afraid to take big risks, not afraid to pay ridiculous amounts of luxury tax to say we're building a system, and if to build that system we need to take a hit every now and then, so be it. It was such a simple decision. Why did they pay so much luxury tax? Because they had to pay $1 million or something extra to that guy. I don't even remember now, the all hustle no outcome guy that they flew
Kelly
last
Oubre
year.
Jr.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, exactly. They could have just as easily tossed him out and not paid all of that extra luxury tax. They're
Yeah.
like,
I think
nope.
they paid like total of 80 million to
Yeah,
acquire that player because
it's
him plus the
insane.
luxury tax. Yep.
Yeah, exactly. So that GM with balls, coach with guts.
Yep.
Anyone who questions Steve Kerr at this point, you're fucking out of your fucking mind. If you're still
Absolutely.
not going to recognize his greatness, he benched Draymond. Again, speaking of having the balls to do something, who has the balls to bench
Yeah.
Draymond Green? Also knowing he has a podcast, by the way, where he'll be slap you later in the day. And in game 4 or 5, I don't know, he benched
In game
Draymond.
4, when they were trailing 2-1 in the
Yeah,
last 7 minutes, yeah.
and they won the game. So can you
Yep.
really argue? So genius moves all around. It's a franchise that works, top to bottom. It's a franchise that works. They took Spurs and Popovich's model, but they applied it org wide, and it's phenomenal. That's what makes a dynasty.
Absolutely, investing in your own team,
Yeah,
investing what makes the team, which is the players, right? And if you look at this team, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, Jordan Poole, Kevon Looney, Kuminga, and Moses Moody. All of these guys are drafted by this team. It's not like they've
yeah,
made trades or anything. Uh, Amongst the remaining players, Otto Porter Jr., Belica were veteran minimum picks. GP2 was tossed around. He played for 9 teams, including G League teams in the last 6 years. 9 teams. And then they picked him up as the 15th player in the team. So Wiggins was the only guy who they traded and got in as an asset.
yeah,
And which also was a laughable trade at that point in time. But that was a trade that you traded D'Angelo and got Wiggins and a pick that matured into Jonathan Kuminga later on.
yeah.
So
Correct.
Warriors won the trade like hands down. And it's amazing. I mean, you just invest in your team, keep trusting your players. And you mentioned this in the previous episode where they gave Clay a max contract when he was injured. So
Yeah.
that speaks volumes. And
That's culture.
I think it's culture. I mean, you might say that the Warriors are a checkbook team and whatnot, like some of the ESPN folks have been saying. But I think like
Nah.
these are the players that they won't draft. They drafted themselves. It's not like PSG who went out and bought Neymar and Messi and Mbappe and still trying to win the Champions. It's not like that. It's
Yeah,
totally different.
I
I
think
would say.
I think it's fundamentally flawed in a league with a salary cap and a
Yeah,
draft
yeah,
system to call anyone a checkbook team. There are tight
true.
rules around everything, even luxury tax.
Agreed.
There's only a limit up to which you can go,
Yeah,
after which you will
yeah.
bleed dry if you dare go beyond
I
that
mean, you
in
get
any.
rewarded for keeping your own players, right? You can pay your own players, and it'll still cost you the luxury tax, but you're still allowed to exceed certain limits if you have bird rights to the player and all that.
Yeah, exactly. So
So
I think look, in a salary cap league, it's a joke to call anyone there's no
absolutely,
shortage of team owners with deep pockets. First of all,
yeah,
if it's that easy to win a ring, then spend your fucking money. Why do you buy a team then?
yeah.
Don't spend your fucking money.
By no means, I don't think Joe Lacob was probably not even the
Huh?
top 10 owners, top 10 richest
Like
owners
you're telling
in
me
the
Steve
league.
Ballmer
Definitely
can't do
not.
this? You
Yeah,
think Steve Ballmer
he's
won't
been
pop
trying though.
out?
He's been trying though.
I know. That's
Let's
what I'm
not put Steve
saying.
Ballmer in this.
But that's what I'm saying. You think Steve Ballmer won't pop out 10 checkbooks if that's all it
Yeah,
takes to win a ring? He'll want to win the next 10 in a row. That's what
yeah,
happened. It's
absolutely,
stupid to call them a checkbook team. It is moronic, and it's the kind of talk that only comes out of channels where they have a 24/7 obligation to produce sports content. At some
absolutely.
point, you're going to run out. We can talk 20 minutes and make sense. Just
Absolutely. We got
rubbish.
to talk about Stephen Curry though.
Yeah,
Finals MVP. Finally, he didn't need it to validate his status as a legend, but he got that also now. Now he has 4 rings, one Finals MVP, and multiple All Star teams and multiple All NBA teams and all of that, and greatest 3-point shooter, everything. But where is he now in the pantheon of greats, if you call it? I mean, you talk about greats, all-time great Jordan, LeBron, Shaq, Kobe. Where would you put Steph Curry now? He has 4 rings, which is equal to LeBron, which is equal to Shaq.
yeah,
One less than Kobe right now.
yeah,
Two less than Michael Jordan, of course.
of course.
Where
And three less than
where would
Robert
you?
Horry. So he's got a long way to go. Yeah.
Of course, but would you put
So,
Robert Horry in the top 10,
yes.
15,
Are you
whatever?
serious? Big shot, Bob. Top 8, I think. Top 10, top 8, something like that. Right now, one more ring,
Mhm.
he's in the top 5. I don't care what anyone says. One more ring. It's
Absolutely.
bound to be him winning Finals MVP again. 5 rings, 2 Finals MVP. That's Kobe level.
Mhm.
Plus, so that's exactly matching Kobe.
Yeah,
And you can say whatever about KD, that was just two of his 5 championships then. Right?
yeah,
With Kobe, that was 3 with Shaq. Though Kobe did hold up his own. But still, that was
true.
with Shaq. 5 rings, 2 Finals MVPs. He's on par with Kobe in terms of ring accomplishments. But then he's got those MVPs. He's got the unanimous MVP. Um, he's got that one thing that a lot of people in the top 10 don't have, which is he changed the way basketball is played. You can tell me it's
Yeah,
analytics. You can tell what it's not. It's Steph Curry. Analytics
yeah.
could
How
have.
many other people would? How many other people could say that, right? Michael Jordan didn't really change basketball. I know he made it a global sport, and
No,
he
he
made the
inspired a lot of
world.
people to want to play like him. He didn't play the. He didn't
So
change
I'll
the way
give
the
him the
sport
credit.
is
I'll
played.
give him the credit. Yeah,
Yeah,
true, true.
yeah, but
LeBron, he
that
still,
Kobe did
still,
also. That LeBron to a certain
yeah,
extent does. But
yeah, yeah, exactly.
today, defenses. People are rethinking defenses. People are rethinking what it means to win. I mean, look at the number of young players that come in today who come in
Yeah,
already with a logo 3 in their arsenal. They already have
right.
it, which means they've been learning it since high school.
Yeah,
What analytics do you think made them learn that? It's Steph Curry. That's the Steph Curry effect. So many coaches now lament that kids without remorse just pull up from the halfway line, miss by a country mile, and they're okay with it. And coaches hate it. They're actually saying Steph Curry ruined high school basketball because people think it's okay to
mm-hmm.
take dumb shit shots like these without putting in the time to first make sure you can make them. That's Steph Curry. So that added to everything else that he's done. If he wins one more ring, and it's most likely going to come attached with a Finals MVP, that's it. It's over. He's a top 5 player for me. You can tell me whatever. It's Jordan, Magic, in whatever order, by the way. Jordan, Magic,
Mm-hmm.
LeBron. Who are you going to put? The Kareem for sure, I guess. And that's it.
Mm-hmm.
It's Steph. Who tops this?
Yeah,
Shaq doesn't top this. Kobe doesn't top this. If he wins one more ring, no
yeah.
Shaq, no Kobe, Tim Duncan. Fuck no. Not Hakeem. 2 rings. How much credit are we going to give Hakeem? Just
Hakim,
stop, man.
he won 2 rings in the 2 years
That's
that Jordan was not
ridiculous.
playing.
Yeah,
So
just stop it. I won't even put Hakim above Shaq. It's just ridiculous.
yeah,
Like who's left? There's really no Bill Russell, nope. Larry Bird, nope. None of these guys. Nobody comes
Larry Bird
close.
has 3 rings. So it's
Yeah.
just this Boston fans and analysts who put him in that top
One more chip, top
category.
5. He's easy top 10, top 8 for me right now. He's probably somewhere in and around Kobe, hovering around
Mm-hmm.
Kobe. Arguable whether you can
Absolutely.
put him above or below Kobe, but I think they're pretty much neck and neck at this point, very close. And maybe Steph's slight
Absolutely.
advantage because of the change the way basketball is played thing, which he has over everyone.
Absolutely.
If he goes on
Yeah.
par with Jordan, this is what will separate him from Jordan also. By the
True,
I
true.
don't know if that I don't know if
Absolutely.
that'll happen, but yeah.
Yeah. I mean, people think it's easy to come win a ring because the Warriors have done it so consistently, but it's not. I mean, if you look at the struggles this season, Steph, Clay, and Draymond had played 11 minutes before the playoffs.
Yeah.
11 minutes together, and they're just depending on their past history of playing together and all of that. And it made it work. I mean, it took me like 2 games again in the Denver series to realize that, well, this team works. I mean, they can play with them. I mean, I was not sure when Steph was coming back from injury and Draymond was coming back from injury and Clay was still not fully Clay. So I was like not very sure if the Warriors still had it in them. But 2 games against Denver is all it took. That, oh wow, this is an entertaining team to watch. They can probably run it back if they want to, and they did. It's
I mean,
great. We got to
I
we
had
got to
them winning
credit
in
this.
5, by the way, in the finals, right? It's only until I got jittery after like 3 games and said, okay, 6. But I still had them winning. There's no way
They
this
would have won
Boston
it
team
in
beats.
5 if that first game
Yeah.
aberration in the fourth quarter had not happened. They were winning it in 5. So
Yeah.
I think the Celtics were totally outplayed. The Celtics, you got to give credit to them for coming all the way to the finals. Nobody had counted on them coming all the way to the finals. So great. And they had the toughest playoff run, also
Oh, for
beating
sure.
Milwaukee
Yeah.
Bucks, beating Brooklyn Nets, beating Miami.
Also, the
So
start that they had, it's unprecedented
yeah,
for a team that sucked so bad to
yeah,
just
they
turn
were
it
10th
around and
in
go
January.
to
So,
yeah,
yeah, I don't think I've seen any team turn it around this bad, right? I
yeah,
mean,
yeah.
we had Atlanta Hawks last year, which was the conference final, but it was not this bad
No,
as the
not like
Celtics were.
this. Yeah, not like this.
Yeah, so it was insane. You got to give them credit. Tatum was amazing. Brown was amazing. Those two showed that they can exist and play together. Udoka, I think, deserves a lot of credit. In his
Yeah,
first year as a
yeah,
coach to make this great run, I think it's a great learning experience. And I've always said this, that a team needs to have those playoff scars or final scars to really come out on top. I won't be surprised if Celtics run it back and add a few more pieces. I think what they really lacked in the series was depth, because the top 5 was great. After that, when you go to Derek White and
yeah.
Grant
That's it.
Williams, that's when you start seeing the difference, where the Warriors had Jordan Poole and GP2 coming off the bench, and that difference really hurt them. And I think by the end of
Yeah,
game 4, game
they
5,
ran
you
out of
could see the
gas.
Celtics.
Yeah.
Yeah, they ran out of gas. Tatum was playing 40-45 minutes, and it was just not enough
Yeah,
for
but
him.
it's
And
also, but do you think it's also about the superstar though? Tatum is
of
the face
course,
of the team, and we gave him full credit for this.
yeah,
It's definitely his team now, and there's no argument. No Jalen Brown, nobody else. It's his team.
absolutely.
But then this is on him also to a certain extent, because it looked like not only did he run out of gas, he ran out of options. Maybe
Yeah.
needs more of an offensive arsenal. I mean, somebody like, say, and that's ironic. But let's say it was Kyrie and not Tatum. There would not have been a quit in Kyrie, because he can score in so many different ways that he's never going to run out of options. With Tatum, that happened. I thought at some point, and he was overly reliant on 3 this season, which worked really
Yeah.
well to the finals. Except then the Warriors' defense is a different beast,
Yeah.
and they found ways to contain him. And suddenly, that's it. No, not the same aggression in the paint. Not as confident from mid-range pull-ups. No going to the left shooting. None of that. All of that came
Yeah,
to a
I was
standstill.
totally disappointed with Tatum in games 5 and 6. In game 6, he ended with 13 points. So that itself showed that he had kind of mentally given up. I know is probably was going on and on and on, but he had mentally given up. There was no way he was getting past the Warriors defense.
Wiggins, I think
This
he
is
destroyed his confidence. He just
yeah,
Mortal
exactly.
Kombated the soul out of his eyes.
Exactly.
Just
Wiggins did to Tatum what Tatum did to KD in the first round. It felt like that because KD was absolutely clueless in the first round as well. And
yeah,
Tatum is a guy who, series on the line, game 6 in Milwaukee, he went and scored 46 points against Giannis.
correct.
This is the same player who got 13 points in the game 6 of the final. It was kind of
Yeah,
disappointing,
yeah.
but I won't criticize him too much. This is his first year. He's just 24 years. And if you look at the past players who've had success, Steph Curry had not won a title until he was 27. LeBron had not won a title until he was 27. Uh, Jordan had not won a title until he was 28 or something. So all of these guys mature slowly into greatness. And
And
I
then
think
there's
Tatum is
then there's Kobe who had 3 by 23 or something.
Kobe. Yeah, you
Because the
have
Shaq
exceptions
thing.
to that, right?
No, but he
You have
has another
exceptions.
thing, right? Which Steph also has now in common, which is Steph has the second highest points scored, I think, in the NBA Finals or the postseason or
Yeah,
something
before
before you
winning an
win
MVP.
a
Yeah,
Finals
yeah,
MVP.
yeah,
Yes, and the number one is Kobe, who
yeah.
killed it for so many finals before he actually got a Finals MVP. Finally, it
True,
was his
true.
3, 4, 5, sixth NBA Finals where he got his Finals MVP
Yeah,
for the first time. Three-peat with
yeah.
Shaq, all Shaq. Then he
Then
lost
they
once to the
lost.
Pistons, lost again to the Celtics. Then he
Yep,
got his back-to-back Finals MVPs.
back to back. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, but I think Tatum will be back. He's just 24. I think he's well ahead of his schedule.
For sure.
Although I know our expectations for him are much, much higher, but realistically, you start peaking when you're 26, 27. You saw Giannis last year. He was at his
Yeah.
absolute best, right? And he is 26, 27 years old. So I think Tatum will be back pretty soon. Do you think the Boston Celtics lost their do you think the window is still open? I mean, you talk about this a lot, right? Like in the Western Conference, I think Phoenix Suns they lost their window. They had it last year, they had it this year, they screwed up, and I don't think they're getting a chance again because
They had
all
last
the
year.
other teams
I
are
never believed they had it this year. I think it was done. Last year
at
was
least
it.
they could reach the conference final and then it's a matchup against the Warriors. You never. I mean, yeah, they would not be the favorites against the Warriors, but you had a chance. Something. You had a window of 2 years. You blew it up entirely. Like
Yeah.
next year, I don't think they're coming back strong because Dallas are definitely going to get strong, and as you've seen, they already started making moves. Nuggets are going to be stronger. Clippers are going to be really strong.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't think LeBron will keep quiet as well. I think
For sure.
LeBron will have something to say. So
Yeah.
in all of this, and the Warriors, of course, right? And all of this, you must say that the Phoenix window, Memphis Grizzlies, I forgot about them. They're going to be strong as well. And
Timberwolves will do a thing or two.
Timberwolves, yeah,
So,
yeah.
yeah.
So Phoenix Suns and all of this is like somewhat like, oh, your window is gone now. Chris
Yeah.
Paul is older now. He already
Yeah.
saw signs of old age in the last two runs he had to the playoffs. So, and they're having troubles with Aiton and whatnot. They got to find some answers to that. So their window is shut. But for the Boston Celtics, do you think the window is shut? Because this year they had a chance because Middleton was out. They took full
Correct.
advantage of it,
Agreed.
reached the finals. I mean, they had it. Now next year, Bucks are not going to be silent. I think Brooklyn Nets might. I don't know. I don't want to bet anything on the Brooklyn Nets. They're the most most
The most lopsided
inconsistent
team in
team, but
NBA history.
but you still have a team with Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. You still have to put them in
Yeah.
conversations,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
Miami Heat, I think they're going to make moves. You already hear rumors about Donovan Mitchell joining Miami or Bradley Beal joining Miami. They're going to be stronger, right? So do you think somewhere down the line Boston Celtics have had a great chance and their window is kind of partially shut?
No, I actually think their time is beginning now. Whether that time includes some rings or not, we'll see. But this is a team that time and again has come to the conference finals consistently over the last few
Yeah.
years. Right?
Yep.
Somehow or the other, they sneak their way through to the conference finals, and now they've gotten a step further. They've been to the NBA finals. In the West, Brooklyn, there's always an asterisk on whatever the hell they're doing. It's always a bizarre situation. We'll believe it when we see it. 76ers, it's the same fitness concerns again. Harden's not the same anymore. Embiid, you never know what you're going to get with him. When he's fit, he's phenomenal, but how fit is he going to be?
Yeah.
So there are a lot of teams with question marks there. I think Celtics also, with a lot of these teams, like with the 76ers, when the way they started this season, you were thinking, can they get to being a contender? They need a big move. Can they get a James Harden? Can they get whatever? Because they need better talent to get there. They've only got one superstar who's probably not all that fit all that time. They need a number two. With Brooklyn, they've got the one and the two. They need pretty much everything else, and they don't have it. And there's always this sort of conundrum. With Miami, like four people together make up the number one option, and three people make up the number two option combined. It's like that. I think with Boston, they've got their number one, and they better believe he's good enough to win championships. Like they've got that guy, just like Dallas believes it's
Yeah.
Luka, and he is. I think Jason Tatum's that guy. He can be that guy. He may well be that guy. And unlike Luka, he plays both ways ferociously. Tatum.
Yeah.
That's something Luka has to learn. Although Luka is a playmaker, Tatum's not. Whatever. So they've got Tatum. I think Brown, while I don't for a second believe he's better than Tatum, I've never believed he has that potential. But he does have it in him to be maybe the second best player on a championship team. I think that's doable, possible, not too much to ask. And the rest is just squad building. So I think they'll have
Yeah.
multiple opportunities to get to the finals again and maybe pick up a chip or two. I don't think
I
it's
agree.
done
I
at all.
think they have their bases covered. I mean, I think it's a very nice unit, young unit
Young
as well,
also.
right?
Yeah, exactly.
Tatum and Brown, and then Rob Williams. You saw he was
Exactly.
amazing in the games he played. I know Horford will be a little older, but I'm sure you can find a replacement for him. Marcus Smart is still there in the team. It's all those additional pieces you want
Yeah.
added to this team. So they have their base. Like I agree with you. I think you'll see them back in the conference finals or finals pretty soon.
I think it's on the
won't be
GM, no?
surprised at all.
It's on the GM. Just like Bob Myers did all this for the Warriors.
Yeah.
Udoka came in and proved that basically the current GM, the former coach, was fucking clueless because Udoka took largely the same squad and he took them to the finals.
Yep.
Now it's up to the GM to make moves and build the squad around them. That's all they need. They need the right direction setting from the top. I think they're well placed.
Absolutely. Do you see the Warriors running it back again? They have a lot of
They may
decisions in the
well.
offseason.
They may well,
Yeah.
by the way. Yeah, I know, but
I,
they may well.
yeah, I wouldn't be surprised either. I
The
think,
West is fucked. I know a lot of teams will come back stronger. They'll kill each other and everyone dies. The West is fucked.
yeah,
There's no. It's not really.
yeah. I mean, the Warriors might not be the top team in the regular season because they experiment a lot. They're very
Yeah,
careless with the ball, a lot of
yeah.
turnovers and all of that, and they don't play with as much seriousness as you would expect a top team to play. Like they go out and have fun, shoot a lot of threes, and it's entertaining to watch. By far the most entertaining team. But when it comes to playoffs, it's difficult to imagine this group losing 4 games,
Correct.
and that's what wins it for me for the Warriors. I mean, it's impossible. I think the Celtics at the start of the series were said, okay, a good team and whatnot, but how could they beat them 4 times? You could see them losing once, you could see them losing twice on a bad day. 4 times, I find that very difficult.
You know what it is?
Uh,
I think they win. They win it psychologically because you look at the Warriors as just observers and fans. You see their lineup. You're reading through the names, and you know they're worthy of respect because they've come this far. But you're looking at that lineup and you're like, really, this Kuminga, Wantoskana, Anderson, whatever, Kevon Looney, GP2, who cares?
Damian
Jordan
Lee.
Poole, Damon Lee, what the fuck? Kevon Looney is their big guy. Like, who cares? They got Draymond, they got Steph. Okay, Clay has not been that great. You look at this team and you're like, this is the team that I'm going to fear. And then you look at them on the court. None of them are particularly intimidating. They're not. It's
Yeah,
not like Giannis where you look at him and you're shitting bricks.
yeah.
Or Luka where he's not exactly a butch or anything, but you know
Yeah,
the
but he's
skill set he has and the size.
consistently scoring, and then,
Yeah, but it's a skill set and the size. So you gotta
yeah,
respect that to a certain extent. He's got a certain size, and he keeps saying you're too small to defenders, right? He just bullies them.
yeah,
The Warriors don't have any of that. Visually on the name sheet, they're not particularly intimidating, right? So it's so
yeah,
disorienting for teams when they get pummeled by them. I would imagine it would be. And
yeah,
then whenever these teams punch back, whenever you get a win, you get 2 wins. Celtics get 2 wins, and suddenly they're looking well placed to win the chip. They are unfazed. That is the most important quality that this team system and belief brings to the table. Is you have no trouble going back, doing your thing, trusting your plan, and executing. They are unfazed no matter what, and that really sucks the soul out of the opponents because we just gave them an ass whooping of a lifetime and they're acting like nothing happened, and they're going to come back and play the next game just as stronger. That's their greatest
absolutely.
skill. Very, very few teams have that. Even among champions, very few teams have that.
Yeah, yeah. In the press conferences after the games, after losses, you could see Draymond come and say, "Well, we know what we did wrong. We'll come back and we'll do better."
Yeah,
And there was kind of this uh, confidence, right? It looked like blind confidence, and you're kind of wondering, are they going to do it? I
yeah.
mean, is he just putting up a show? But no, I mean, they go back and do it. And one of the main factors in that is Steph Curry. I mean, you put whatever plan you want against him. It's crazy when you have 5 fingers on his face and he's still draining a 3 pointer from 30 feet. I mean, it just has to
Hmm.
demotivate you. Multiple times when you do it, it's crazy. You're just chasing him and then he's burying those 3 pointers from weird angles and weird
Yeah.
parts of the court that you never even imagined. Like, that's got to be demotivating. And when he goes off like that, I think it motivates the rest of the team to perform well as well. And
It's
that shows.
those big. So in big games when you have a major alley oop, especially ones where the lead swings because of that shot going in, you have a big dunk, facial slam, or an alley oop, and the lead swings and the crowd goes nuts, or a boisterous home crowd they just shut the fuck up because the away team did one of those things. It is satisfying, it is gratifying, but it's instantaneous. It's a flash in the pan moment. It happens, and then the game goes on. You go back on offense. You don't really. It happens so fast. You don't really get to fathom it. But Steph Curry used to do this thing in practice earlier, where he just dribble casually to the basket and he just underhanded flip the ball so high up in the air, it's up there for an eternity, come back, and somehow it
Yeah.
just goes in. Swish. Okay,
Yeah.
sometimes it goes in, sometimes whatever. But he used to do this for fun to end practice sessions. That's the power of that halfway, that logo three shot. It's in the air so long, it's got to be agonizing for the bench to look at it,
Yeah.
and not for 1 second do you think there's a chance it'll miss. Until it's
Yeah.
actually a miss, you're not believing that it's a miss. And
True.
then when he turns away, it is demoralizing, and it happens for long enough that you see it, you process it, and then you get that thud on the heart when the shot goes in. that sucks the air out of the opponents, the arena. He's just there's no answer to that. That's the Steph Curry impact.
Absolutely. Well, we are at the end of the episode. We are at the end of the season. What are you going to do for the next few months?
I'm gonna catch some sleep and get some life back. Uh,
I, I
come
know, I
back.
know,
But follow
I know.
transfers.
I
I think
mean,
that's the big one, though. I think it'll be interesting to.
yeah, I think we have the draft coming up very shortly. I think it's on Thursday already. So a lot of chatter around that. I
Yeah,
think Orlando has the first pick, and they a lot of big names being discussed, and I see a lot of teams moving up and down the draft as well.
yeah,
Portland
yeah.
is one team that is supposed to be very active, and they're looking to trade away their seventh pick for a big name and whatnot. Let's see how that goes. But I'm sure we'll have tons to catch up on. But that's all on today's episode, and I'll see you soon.
All right, man. Just
Bye.